Hello, this is Uncle Jim. Today we're going to install the LaRue MBT trigger, the meticulously built trigger. This is a two-stage. It comes in really nice packaging, and they offer this with a flat shoe or a round shoe. And they give you an extra spring here if you want the trigger to be heavier and a quicker reset. Doesn't affect primer strikes whatsoever because that's the hammer spring. So we'll install this today and see how it feels, and I'll compare it to others like the Schmidt machine, and then this one, and then the Geisley, going by price. I got this from He Saw, and I really appreciate that He Saw. He must have heard that I was interested in trying one of these in a live chat or something, and I really appreciate you sending this. Very curious. What makes this nice, especially for the price, is it is milled out of B7 tool steel. So that's different than a lot of others. All right. So it's for small pin, none of your old Colts or anything, just your standard small pin ARs. And it comes with everything. You got a pin here, you got a pin in the hammer, extra spring, and I find this kind of funny. There's a note on here that says, use only one spring at a time. Okay. Yeah, if you're doubling up those springs, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. All right. So, you got your instructions here. I'll check that out real quick. And what I think I'm going to do is just lube the trigger and hammer pin, and leave the surfaces raw. Feel how that feels like, and then we'll put a little grease on the bearing surfaces. All right. And I'll give you a close-up of what this looks like. What do you take out first? Okay, we got our hammer here. We'll do a close-up of this. I want to see the face. I want to get this out. There we go. Now, this is kind of neat because the disconnector is already intact. It's got a pin here, so you don't have to fumble with that. You can use a slave pin on others when you're putting it together, like a Geisley. And it's very stiff. The disconnector, oof, that's nice and stiff. We'll do a close-up of the face here. Now the trigger has some mill marks on it because it's milled instead of casted, and that's just fine. We'll do a close-up there. Alright, so that's what it looks like. It's got the lighter trigger return spring, and that's how I'm going to install it at first. And feel how the reset is. If you want a heavier trigger, you're going to add about pound and a half or whatever with the heavier trigger return spring. Okay. Never put a lighter hammer spring in an AR. You're just going to get light strikes if you shoot wolf or something like that, or once it wears. Okay, so the other pins on this side, very nice packaging. All right, let's do a close-up here. Okay, you should be able to read that. It says to grease here, here, and here, and we'll do that before installing it, and then I'm going to leave the trigger bearing surfaces raw and then put some lube on that after, just to check it before and after. And again, use only one trigger spring at a time. You have your optional heavier spring. So your regular spring is 4.5 pounds total, 2.5 and 2 on the brake. And then the heavy spring gives it 6 pounds total. So more of that's going to be your first stage because of the trigger return spring being heavier. And then the second stage is going to be a little heavier because of that also. Okay, here's a close-up. You can tell the difference in the width of the springs there. There's some mill marks here, and that's just fine. Then you know they were milled out of good steel. The hammer's really smooth on both sides. So it's just around the trigger here. Okay, we're going to install this in the old arrow lower, the original arrow, and see how it goes. Right now it has an enhanced GI trigger. If you like GI triggers the way they are, but you don't want the grit and you want it to feel better, the enhanced GI triggers are very nice. And you notice the S marks there. That's Schmidt Machine. They make really good stuff. I like their two-stage triggers. And so it's really not a bad trigger if you like GI, okay? All right. All right, so we're gonna put some grease on here. You gotta press down on the disconnector, and it's really heavy, and get under there, under this shelf, and under here, and under here. And I also like to do it on the outside here, where this rubs against the frame. Like to get some grease on there. Now it's winter time, so I'm going to use oil on the pins. And I guess while this is out, we're going to hit the face here. I was going to try it raw, but I think we should just do it this way. And I'll hit the hammer also. Alright, not too much. Alright, so a couple things. That hammer pin was in there good. The detent that holds it in the middle here, that was strong. So that had to be punched out just to get it off. The other thing is, in the directions it says you need to remove the grip and the safety. And I hope not. Maybe it's because this is fat right here. It's a little fatter. And I compared it, and it is a little bit oversized, but we'll see if I can sneak it in there without having to take the safety out. Alright, here's the difference in width between the two, and I hope I don't have to pull the safety out. I mean, it's not a big deal, but other triggers you don't have to do that. So we'll see if this little bump here is just slightly oversized than standard. Okay, it looks like we're going to have to do it their way. You can't just slip this under the safety like you can other triggers, other two-stage triggers or regular triggers. So there's something different in the geometry. I don't know if it's the trigger shoe. By the way, I forgot to mention it's got less curve than a standard. Okay, so we'll see how that feels. But now we have to do some extra steps. Take the grip off, take the safety off. Another job delay. Okay, we got our trigger return springs nice and square in there. And yes, you had to pull the safety. Not a big deal, just took it a couple extra minutes, but still. Now, that's what the trigger bow looks like. I'm just feeling the trigger return spring before I put the hammer in. Okay, we got the hammer in. There's no issues or anything. The hammer looks very similar to a Geisley. If I can show you. All right. And there are some differences. I like the wider trigger. The trigger is wider, and that feels pretty good, and less bow to it. And I kind of like that. So one thing I noticed is it has less take up. Now, I've got the safety on. I'll do all the safety checks. And of course, when we shoot it, we're going to load 2 rounds at a time till we're comfortable with the trigger. So it's one thing I noticed. Let's compare it to the Geissele. It has less of a first stage. So let me get around the camera here. It's got less take up. Okay. And it's got a nice crisp trigger. So, kind of hard to do at this camera angle now, isn't it? So that's kind of nice. The trigger has some mill marks on it. Doesn't bother me that much, but there you go. If you're really picky and want to, you know, show off or something, that might be an issue to you. Doesn't bother me at all. I like that the trigger is black versus nickel boron. And so, let's come over here. So there's your take-up. It's got less take-up than the Geissele, but a little more reset than the Geissele does, but not much. And I'm talking about the SSAE Geissele trigger. I'm digging it. It's a good. It feels really good. It's a little heavier than the Geissele. I would compare the weight of it to the Schmidt 2-stage, and we'll compare them. It's similar, and it's about what they say. It's about 2 pounds, 2 and a little change. But it's crisp. It's got a short reset, and it's, if you like a short first stage, there you go. This one's got the shortest by a hair over the Geissele, and just a little more length of reset, but not much. That's a good trigger for the price. The other thing I like about it is it's made out of S7 tool steel. Okay, I called it B7 at the beginning, but I'm an old man. Give me a break, all right? So it's going to last a long time. So here's Geissele. Okay. Little more of a first stage, but it's a much lighter. The reset is shorter. Okay. Geissele costs a lot more. So here is your, what I would call best bang for the buck budget 2-stage trigger, Schmidt machine. This one was sold by Foxtrot. It was a little more polished just on the outsides and everything than what you could get today from PSA, their 2-stage trigger. And so this is more similar to the Geissele. Short take up, short reset. Okay, let's do this one again. They're all very similar. Okay, so these are kind of like my go-to cheapest 2-stage that work. I've used them lots, you know, a long time, and never had an issue with them. Just don't buy the one from Midway, because their AR Stoner version gets bad reviews, gritty and all that stuff. This is not like that at all. Foxtrot no longer sells them, but when I compared this to the PSA 2-stage, which is made by the same company, you'll see the S marks. This one was a little more polished and just slightly better. So this one is very close to the Geissele. slightly heavier trigger pull, more on par with this one. So this one also comes, you can get one with flat trigger, and this feels good. I'm glad I got to try this trigger. And yes, on sale I would buy this trigger. And I do not like the silver on these two-stage triggers. Okay, I just don't like shiny bits on the AR. That's just me. No bright colors, no shiny bits. So yeah, the Geisley's gonna cost you a lot more, but it's still, you know, it's still lighter, shorter reset. However, I would take all of these. And when they're on sale, let's call sale prices. What is this, like $140, something like that for the SSAE? And then this on sale would be about $85. Right now they're not. I was looking before Esau sent me this. And then these, I was getting around $50, but you can't get them on sale from Foxtrot anymore. PSA was like $55, and it's almost as good as this one. I don't know why there's variances. This is the same maker, Schmidt Machine. So I'm giving it a thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. I do like that some people want a long first stage on their 2-stage triggers. If that's the case, get the Rock River. The Rock River has a long 2-stage first stage, but it's light. At least they used to be. I don't have any newer ones. Haven't bought a Rock River for about 10 years. But this is very nice trigger. So we're going to test this out today or tomorrow. I'm going to put it, this one has a bufferless. I'm putting this is a folder, so I'm putting it on the Foxtrot 15 bufferless upper just to test it. And then we're going to test, Esau also sent the he also sent me the brass goat here, and this will fit on the Foxtrot even though it's slightly different, the bufferless upper, because this just fits on a mil-spec lower, okay, for your brass catcher. We'll cover that. So I give it a thumbs up, depending on, you know, what price you pay. I think these are normally about 100 and their website was 115. These are normally 79. These are normally 179. Something like that. So pick your poison. They're all good. I like them all. And one wouldn't screw me up over the other. They're too similar. They're all very similar. You can grab it. You don't have to get used to it. You know, I'm not that picky. And I like them way better than a standard trigger, that's for sure. And I don't trust those aftermarket single action triggers. They seem to have issues over longevity. And this being the S7 tool steel, that's really nice. That's really nice. So I say advantage to this for the steel being milled. The wider trigger, I guess that's a personal preference. It's not going to snag on anything on the sides. I kind of like that. And the bow isn't so severe. I like that too. So I'll just have to shoot it and see if there's any finger fatigue or any of that. And I want to thank Esau. Man, that was an awesome gift you sent me, as well with the other stuff. And we'll test this out, and we'll throw that brass catcher on there too and test that at the same time. All right, I hope you found this interesting. If you have any questions, let me know. No, I don't have a trigger gauge. I go by this, and sometimes trigger gauges can't tell you how it feels. And these all feel really good. Until next time, thanks for watching.